Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into it, a real estate story right here in India.
Oh, this one is interesting.
Yeah, the Avalon Rosewood housing project.
Okay.
We're digging into court documents, orders, the whole nine yards.
Oh,
And it all kind of brings us to this bigger picture of how India handles these insolvency situations.
yeah. When you think about it, it's a system designed to rescue these projects. We see it with businesses, but these big housing projects, they've got their own set of challenges.
Right, and this one, it all starts in Bhiwadi, Rajasthan.
Okay.
The Avalon Rosewood, on paper, it's modern apartments, everything you'd want.
Right.
And the developers, GRJ Distributors and Developers Private Limited, they weren't new to this. Over 30 years they'd been doing this.
Well, what happened?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? They just couldn't deliver those flats, those homes people were counting on.
Those agreements, they mean something. I mean, we're talking about people's homes, their investments.
And that's where it gets messy, because those home buyers, they become in this whole legal process financial creditors.
Right.
And they start filing claims saying, hey, we did our part, where's our end of the deal?
Yeah, you can't just, take people's money. It's a big responsibility these developers have.
Absolutely. And it gets to a point where enough is enough. So these home buyers, they get together
Okay.
and they file this application.
Right.
Under Section 7 of the IBC, which, if you're not familiar, it's basically the way to kickstart this whole insolvency process.
Right. You're hitting the alarm button, trying to get things back on track.
It's a last resort in a lot of ways.
It is. And it's not just, it's about finding a solution, not just pointing fingers. This Rosewood project, it needed intervention.
And intervene, they did. February 2023, the big leagues step in, the National Company Law Tribunal, the NCLT.
Okay.
They initiate the Corporate Insolvency Resolution Process,
Right.
specifically for Rosewood. And here's the kicker. They declare a moratorium.
Okay, so everything's on hold now.
Everything pauses. It's like hitting that pause button on all the legal wrangling, gives everyone a breather.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Get everything sorted. Who's in charge during the pause?
Right, someone's got to steer the ship.
Yeah.
That's where the Interim Resolution Professional comes in, the IRP.
Okay.
And initially, it was Mr. Piyush Garg, and this is where it gets a little interesting.
Okay.
March 2023, Mr. Garg is replaced. New IRP on the scene, Mr. Sanjeet Kumar Sharma.
A new IRP.
And this actually leads to some confusion about what exactly is under scrutiny. Is it the whole company, GRJ Distributors and Developers Private Limited? Or is it just this Rosewood project?
It's a big...
QGE. And the NCLT, they had to step in again, clarify that it was laser focused on Rosewood.
Just Rosewood. Okay.
So those home buyers, their investments, that's the priority here.
Gotcha. So with that settled, Mr. Sharma, he can really start digging in.
He can start the search for a resolution, someone to swoop in and hopefully save the day.
And find a resolution applicant, he must bet.
Right, like finding a needle in a haystack, it's got to be the right fit.
Right person, right experience.
Exactly, someone who can actually get this project done.
So Sharma, he starts gathering those expressions of interest.
Okay, so people are putting their names forward.
And initially there are two, which is good news.
At least someone's interested.
But then, when it comes to actually submitting a full resolution plan, only one comes through.
On plan, riding in to save the day. Who was it?
That was from Mrs. Amrapali FinCap Ltd.
Okay, so they put together this whole plan, but then we've got the Committee of Creditors, the COSI.
They have a big say.
They do. And what happened?
Well, March 2024, they reject the plan. Didn't get the votes.
Ouch. Talk about a setback. So what happens then? Does everyone just pack up and go home?
Well, the COSI, they weren't giving up that easily. They asked the NCLT for an extension, 90 days.
Smart move. Buy themselves some time.
It's a lifeline, shows how this system is supposed to work.
Give these projects a fighting chance.
Exactly. So that pushes the deadline to August 5, 2024.
Okay, and I'm guessing with this new deadline, things get even more interesting.
You're telling me. They get a bunch more inquiries, 21.
Wow, word must have gotten out.
And from those, 3 PRAs,
Yeah.
they're serious, put down their refundable deposits.
Okay, so the stakes just got higher.
We've got Vivek Gupta, Metro Waste Handling Private Limited, and Power Infra Consortium, Rosewood.
A three-way race to revive the Rosewood.
And this time, 2 full-fledged resolution plans are submitted.
Okay, so everyone's doing their homework now.
This is getting serious, and after revisions, presentations back and forth,
The posse makes a choice.
August 2nd, 2024, they pick Vivek Gupta's plan.
Wow, okay. By a lot.
Pretty decisive, 66.89% of the vote.
So that's it then. Gupta's in the driver's seat. What does his plan actually say? How's he going to make this work?
Well, he's put a valuation on it, over 3.6 billion rupees.
Okay, that's a good chunk of change. And this covers everything.
Remember how we talked about the scope?
Yeah, just the Rosewood project.
Right, so construction costs, even those non-tower areas, which can get tricky.
Important details.
Brokerage fees, CRP costs, all of it's accounted for.
Tying up those loose ends. But it's not just about throwing money at the problem, is it?
You got it. Gupta's plan, it includes payments to those secured creditors, but depends on those home buyers. They've got to hold up their end of the bargain, too.
Right. Everyone's got to do their part to make this work.
Shared responsibility, that's the key.
Oh.
And to handle it all, Gupta's proposing a special purpose vehicle, an SPV.
Okay, so like a separate entity just for Rosewood.
Exactly. Clean slate, focused mission.
It does make sense. Keep things organized. But even with the COC on board, Gupta still needs that final approval.
That's right. All eyes on the NCLT.
Big decision coming up. So it all comes down to this. The NCLT, they've got the final say. Gupta's plan, the COC's hopes, it's all in their hands.
It's a big responsibility for sure. They got to make sure it all adds up.
Right, that it's actually going to work, that it's fair to everyone.
And that it follows all the rules, the IBC, it's all got to be by the book.
And then, after all that waiting, October 1st, 2024,
Decision day.
the NCLT says, yes.
They approve it.
They approve the plan. Gupta gets the green light.
What a relief that must have been for everyone involved.
I can only imagine, right? The Rosewood project, it's back from the brink.
And that moratorium, it's lifted. Things can finally start moving again.
No more waiting. It's time to get to work. But you know, there's something about the NCLT's decision that really stood out to me.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
It's how they talked about the codicy. They called it their commercial wisdom.
Interesting.
Like they were saying, hey, the codicy, they're the ones who really get it. They have the most to lose.
They're the ones who've been living and breathing this whole thing.
Exactly. And the NCLT, they respected that, which I thought was important.
Makes you think, though, about that responsibility.
Oh, for sure. Big decisions.
And that's where that monitoring committee comes in.
Right. Keeping an eye on everything.
Making sure it all goes according to plan. Gupta, the COC, the resolution professional, all working together.
It's kind of amazing when you think about it, this whole process, how the IBC tries to take these projects that are just dead in the water.
And bring them back to life.
And not just the projects themselves, but those dreams, those homes that people were counting on.
Absolutely. The human side of all this, it's a big deal.
It is. In this case, this Avalon Rosewood saga, it's just one example.
It's a story that's playing out in different forms all over.
And it makes you think, how well does it really work, this whole system?
That's the question, isn't it?
The IBC, is it doing enough to protect those home buyers, those investors?
Are there ways to make it better? To close loopholes?
To make sure everyone's playing fair? These are the things we all need to be thinking about, talking about.
Because knowledge is power, right?
That's what the deep dive is all about. And on that note, we're signing off. Keep asking those questions, keep digging for answers, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.